Hello and welcome to this first episode of Ask a Monk. Yes, I don't want to lose too much time. I just start off with the first question I received last week. A question from Rose. And Rose asks, what would you advise to somebody who says, I'd rather be dead than alive? So, this week we start off with a very difficult question. And, well, I would like to start with a probably amazing statement, which is, I would not advise them anything at all. Okay, there's one exception. If we find out that somebody is suffering from a severe mental illness, a so-called major depressive disorder, then I would carefully try and advise them to look for professional help. The problem is, how do we find out? So there are a couple of symptoms for the so-called MDD. You can find them in the internet, the criteria of the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Diseases. It's DSM-5. In Germany, you find the criteria in the ICD-11. As I said, all of that you will find in the internet. I won't go too much into detail here. But one important thing, however, should be mentioned. If the person already has a concrete plan how to commit suicide, or if this person gives the appearance of all of a sudden feeling fine, happy and kind of relieved, or if they have already taken preparatory measures such as buying a rope or so, then you should urgently contact in many places there are so-called psychiatric emergency services, and if not available, perhaps you could call the police, because then it's really shortly before committing suicide. I find that important to tell you that, because anybody, it is basic knowledge for psychotherapists. But everybody should know about that, because in times like these, today, there are many people who are not very fine, and we should take care. You never know. But often people may utter the thought of wanting to be dead, but are actually far away from committing suicide. What can we do then? The question is in fact, what can we do then? And it is not what can we advise them. Why is it? People with depressions regularly also have the feeling of being wrong. And giving them advices can amplify this view. They think, not only I'm fed up with life and I'm deeply sad. I'm also too stupid to find a way out and overcome the state. I should only follow the instructions, but I'm even unable to do so. So you're better off if you don't give advices. But instead, what we can do is be compassionate. And I'm talking here about what I call right compassion. So what is right compassion and what is wrong compassion? Wrong compassion is suffering with them. Now, how would you feel when you are in a dark cloud and you extend this dark cloud over all those people who take care of you? I think that's not a good feeling, and it can amplify the depressive state too. Wrong compassion is also sustaining them in the negative worldview or personal view. Saying, oh yeah, the world is terrible, you are in a terrible situation, I would like to be dead as well if I were you, and these things. That's wrong compassion. What is a right compassion then? Right compassion is understanding them, giving them the chance to be heard, listening to them instead of talking to them. And one important thing is taking the person seriously. You know, for some people it may be the worst thing to happen in their lives if, say, their goldfish is dead. Okay, who are we to say that this is no reason for being depressed? Is my perception better or more valuable than theirs? Perception is always subjective, but suffering always feels the same. So it is not about the reason why somebody is suffering. It is about knowing how suffering feels, and this we all know. And that's the point, nothing else. For several years I was working with people suffering from dementia, living in old people's residence. And sometimes someone told me, for example, that they had to go home since the children are coming home from school and they had to prepare lunch for them and all these things, take care of them. Would you tell them that's nonsense? You're 95 years old, your children are adult now and have their own families, and you can't go home for your house was sold years ago. Would you say that? I don't think so. But this is their perception. I try to be in line with their perception, and that's the technical term for it in psychiatry is validation. The other one is right. What I think about it is not important. What else can we do? We can give them the feeling not to be alone. Go out with them. Go out for a walk in nature. Make them smile whenever possible. You can cook together. You can do many things together. Just for giving them the feeling of participating in life. So do nice things with them. That's right compassion, and that is what is needed in such a case. So now, one last important word. As Buddhists, we know that everything is anicca, unstable, impermanent, unreliable, subject to change. And we know that mental processes are not me, not mine, and not myself. They are anatta, the second important doctrine of Buddhism. So what we can do when all this happens to ourselves, when we ourselves are depressed and fed of life, we can observe the suicidal thoughts and feelings as they arise without taking them personally. Since by taking them personally, we nourish them and let them grow. So give those feelings and thoughts the right to arise as a natural process, to stay for a while and then to fade away on their own, because we know that they fade away earlier or later. That is anicca. Smile at them. Smile at them in the deep understanding of the true nature of anatta and anicca. Smile. Softly, gently, understanding, loving, and kind. One of my teachers once in a retreat told me the story of a lady who had just before the retreat began lost her husband, and she was always sad. And this Bhante taught how important it is to smile. And she said, I cannot smile, I just lost my husband. You know what he said? He said, you know, if you see that you cannot smile, then laugh about it. Think about that. It's quite an interesting statement, isn't it? So when you deal with yourself in the same way you would deal with another person, with a good friend also who is depressed, then you practice right compassion. Right compassion is a sense of loving kindness and understanding. Yeah, I hope that was helpful for you, Rose. Thank you for your question. And today, as I had the intention already last Sunday to start with this Ask a Monk round, I will directly turn to the second question. The second question comes from May, I don't know exactly. And I'm going to read out that question. So, while understanding the utmost importance of living in the moment and focusing on the now, when the present moment is suffering, time and time again, I find myself running away to some future fantasies. If I try to be in the moment when I suffer, usually it is when I experience physical or mental pain at varying jobs, I can't bear the pain and immediately focus on the future. I wouldn't mind it that much, but when I do it so often, I stray away from being present also when I don't experience suffering. So what should I do then? This is something I've been trying to tackle for a very long time. Thank you very much for your question. I think the first thing we should make us clear is that the reaction of the mind running away from an unpleasant mental or bodily feeling or perceptions is absolutely normal. The reason for it is that when there are painful feelings, our stress system, which is identical with our fight and flight system, releases huge amounts of stress hormones such as adrenaline, causing in return unpleasant feelings. And the antagonists of stress hormones are so-called happiness hormones. So, when we tend to find relief in something that makes our system release happiness hormones, such as chocolate, for some people it may be sex. Sex is said to be a medicine against the headache, I heard once. Okay. Or if it is only simply thoughts about nice things to happen in the future, or things that happened in the past as well, and then the release of happiness hormones is started and fights in inverted commas against the stress hormones. So this is a natural process, and to observe this process is one aspect of Vipassana. So you should not resist to that, because it's absolutely normal. Now, what when dwelling on pleasant fantasies of the future or whatever, even when there would be no need to do so, since there is no painful feeling to overcome in the present moment? The tricky thing about this is that we are talking about something completely different now. Although it may be, or it may seem to be more or less the same. The Buddha says in Majjhima Nikaya number 19, what a person often and persistingly thinks and ponders on, this becomes the inclination of his heart and mind. So, if a person permanently flees from painful feelings into pleasant feeling by means of lustful fantasies, then this becomes a kind of habitual tendency to dwell in these fantasies. This too is normal. And what is normal, we don't want to resist. But we can softly and wisely change it. How can we do that? By means of something that I call the blessed circle. I don't want to go too much into detail there neither, but I'll try to explain it in a few words. The Buddha teaches a kind of counter-conditioning. Whenever you see that your mind is distracted from your object of meditation, and this can be your breath, it can be a metta meditation, that can be observing the phenomena of the present moment, sounds and sights and colors and whatever. Then first, let go of your thought or fantasy. Stop dwelling on them and softly bring your attention back to the present moment by focusing on yourself, on your presence here and now. So just be aware of yourself in the first step. Feel yourself. That is something that I teach in my meditation courses, seminars, that in the beginning of the meditation we come to ourselves, we start feeling ourselves and feel our presence, our pure bodily, physical existence. But this is not all. The second point is, then you feel consciously the relief arising from having let go. You know, all kinds of thoughts, positive or negative, leave a tension and a tightness in our mind. And this relaxes a little bit when letting go. Then, step 3. You want to relax a little bit more by taking a deep breath of relief. And let this relaxation flow through your entire body and mind. If you like, you can make this typical Qigong movement in order to sustain it. You might be feeling quite relaxed in that moment. And if this is a case, then you want to smile into this relaxation, into this relief. And that is an important point in the counter-conditioning process, because it triggers the reward system in our brain. Okay, then step 5 is you come entirely back to the present moment and to your meditation object with that smile on your face. You will probably note that in that moment you are very, very clear, very, very focused, very, very calm. And that's where you want to be when you do a practice over the whole day. So repeat these 5 steps over and over in daily life, just as good as you can, because it is not very easy. It needs some practice. And so I highly recommend to practice meditation on your cushion, because there you can really practice these 5 steps with every thought that arises, with every distraction that arises. That is very important. So fill your heart up with smiling and loving kindness, just like you might fill your dantian with qi in some qigong practices. And I think this should work. If you like, let me know in perhaps 2 or 3 months. It takes some time. I'd be very interested in the results you achieve. Yeah, that's my answer to that question. I hope this was helpful too. I thank you both for your questions. Hope next Sunday there will be other questions, new questions, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the weekend. Have a good start in the new week. Stay safe, stay dedicated, stay loving and mindful.